Welcome back to Pain to Power. I am your host, Kayla Cardona. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to remind you to hit that follow button and subscribe. Your likes, shares, comments, and 5-star reviews are crucial. They help the show reach more people and make a bigger impact. I'm dedicated to bringing value and helping as many people as possible, and your support makes that happen. If you or someone you know that is interested in partnering with Pain to Power, let's connect. You can send me a message on Instagram at paintopowerpod or email me at paintopowerpod@gmail.com. Now, without further ado, let's introduce our next guest. She is a transformational leadership coach, speaker, and founder of Modig Leadership, specializing in emotional intelligence and authentic leadership. She helps entrepreneurs and executives break subconscious barriers, scale their businesses, navigate change, and lead with confidence. While raising 4 boys as a single mom, she built Modig Leadership, overcame an abusive marriage, and rebuilt her life from the ground up. With experience at global companies like Hewlett Packard and Activision, she brings a no-nonsense, deeply personal approach to leadership and resilience. Please welcome to Pain to Power family, Brenda Lee. Woo!
Thank you.
Hopefully, whatever.
We got this.
I was a little blinded by the light, but that's okay because the light is what matters, and good light means everything.
Amen. That's fact.
All right. Well, I'm
fact.
so happy that you're finally here.
Me
I know it's a little
too.
bit of a mission. Oh my goodness. But I'm glad you're here. And I'm
Thank you.
so excited for this episode.
I'm glad to be here.
Yes. So for context, I met you through Tim.
Yes.
He is also my mentor, but he's your mentor and
Yes.
you're working with him on a
Love
few
him.
things. So shout out Tim Story. We love
Shout
you.
out Tim Story. We love you.
This is a great suit. Yes,
you.
I love it.
Thank you.
Did you come from far?
Kind of. I was just telling the team I've been bouncing back from Aspen. It was a little difficult to get out of Aspen this last weekend. So I hit home for a minute and then I was back on the road. So
Amazing. So you came all the way from Aspen to be here.
yes. Like I said, I had a little skip at home
Yeah.
and a couple meetings this afternoon and I'm back home tonight.
Wow.
Yeah. As you know, like with the kids,
yes.
I like to get home as soon as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. But thank you for coming all this way.
Thank
Like
you
it's
for having
so
me.
special. It means so much more when you're in person versus like online. So I really appreciate your time.
Of course.
So Brenda, we got a lot to cover today.
We got a lot to cover.
Man. But I would like to start with, where you're originally from, how you grew up. And as we know, you being in emotional intelligence, all the things, I'm so excited because I haven't had that on the show yet. So let's start there. Where did you grow up? Where you come from? And then kind of, how you got into your profession.
Yeah. So my dad worked for the FAA, so we traveled around quite a bit when I grew up. So I came from Seattle to Salt Lake to Spokane, landed in Spokane for a while, met my ex-husband, and he lived in Tri-Cities. He was a 5th-generation farmer, though, so we can't move the farm. So I ended up moving down to Tri-Cities, lived there for 14 plus years while we were married, got divorced, and now home base is Boise, Idaho. And I love Boise. My kids love Boise. That is one of our favorite places to be. And so kind of how I got into this industry was we got divorced and I became a general contractor and I didn't love it, right? I loved the building piece of it, but being a female in a male dominated industry was a little difficult. And so I had asked 3 of my friends who all knew me very well, didn't know each other, what do you want to be? And they were like, each one was like, you act coach, speak coach, you are one of the best people. When we're down, you're the person we go to see who we really are. And the first person, Kayla, full transparency, the first person that told me that, I was like, I'm educated. Like Bob across the street can get certified to be a coach by this afternoon, right? Like, it's like, I'm better than that. And so my ego was a little bit in the way until the third person, I was like, okay, I'm listening. There's something here, right? And so what I did was I went full tilt. I asked my developer if he could find another contractor. He did. And I went all in as a single mom, newly divorced. It was terrifying.
Wow.
And I started my coaching business and I started with divorce recovery. One of my divorce recovery clients had asked me, hey, like, we do this divorce recovery and it has nothing to do with divorce. It's all about your identity. People get caught up in this identity with this partner and this future of the hope that they thought they were going to have, right? And what they don't realize is that they've melded their identity with that and they don't know who they are, right? And so the work that we do has nothing to do with divorce, really.
Yeah.
And everything to do with divorce of anything. We always say divorce isn't just marital.
Wow.
When he got through my program, he had called me back and said, if you would take this to my team, it would radically change the way my team communicated and operated and the way they worked together. And I had corporate experience, business ownership experience. I was like, I'll give it a go. I can do anything once, I'll give it a go once and we'll see how it goes. And that's how the leadership development started. And we've been doing that for 4+ years.
And that's the Modig.
Yep. Modig leadership.
What's the inspiration behind the name?
Ooh, how much time do we have?
There's a whole story.
There's
love
a fantastic story.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So this was one of my early teams. We were a day and a half and he's given me permission to share this story and he shares it openly himself. We were a day and a half into this training. I do 2-day training with the teams that I work with when I'm doing a team. And we're a day and a half in, and this was a group of contractors. So there was 26 people in the room. 2 of us were women, right? 3 of us were women. I was one of them. And there was this guy that had not had his breakthrough, and I could see it. And what I do when I speak, Kayla, I don't think you've seen me speak or anything, but I've got this bag where I pull out this blanket, and I'm like, we have a blanket of shame from divorce, and I pull out this baby doll when I was 19, and I got pregnant, and my mom drove me down to the abortion clinic because she was like, you're not having this baby, right? I cried on that table, and the nurse had asked me, are you sure you want to do this? And I said, no, but I don't have a choice. And in that moment, I didn't realize I was handing my voice over to my mother on a silver platter, right? And this wine bottle of being married to an abusive husband. He was addicted to pornography, the pain as a woman that brings. So I would take my wine bottle at night and go in the closet after the kids were asleep, and I would cry into a pillow so they wouldn't hear me and drink my wine to just try to numb the pain away from why am I not enough? What's wrong with me? All those things that come along with that. And I'm holding all these things, several other things, right? I'm holding all these things to give people a visual. This is the baggage that we carry around with us. And if we don't learn how to unpack that baggage, then it's tainting the rest of our life, every interaction we have with everybody. And when we learn through emotional intelligence how to unpack that bag, then we can step into our true identity, who God created us to be, not who we were conditioned to be. And we get to step into that space, right? And so when I start speaking that way, it just opens up the vulnerability to the room, and everybody in the room is vulnerable. So back to how I got Modig leadership, back to that training room with that company, this guy hadn't had his breakthrough. And I had said something that I can't say legally now, but I had said something along the lines of the abortion. And he sat there and he stood up and he finally was willing to share. And with tears in his eyes, he said, no, he goes, I didn't do that, but because of what I told her, she did. And he started bawling and he had his breakthrough. And in that moment, he had finally forgiven himself for decades worth of pain and guilt and shame over decisions that he made with somebody way in his past. And he was a whole different creature. And I'll tell you, Kayla, I sat back in my chair in that moment and I was like, damn, it takes bravery to do this work. And so Modig is Swedish for brave. And it's just Swedish because we needed something that was available on the website. And we weren't going to do brave leadership. Like, who's going to sign up for that, right?
Yeah. Wow.
So that's how Modig was born.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
it was pretty impressive.
amazing. That's so good.
Yeah.
I want to get into emotional intelligence.
Please,
Yes.
let's do.
I haven't had that
favorite.
yet on the show. So let's get into that. And I'll probably have questions as you go, but I'll let you start.
Yeah.
So emotional intelligence, what is that?
Yeah. So at the basic core of it, it's like awareness, control of an expression of your emotions, right? And then how you utilize that to relate with other people. So oftentimes I like to say, and Tim always is like, tell them what it's not, right? Like, tell them what it's not. It's not sitting around a fireside crying over our emotions and being totally open about our emotions and sharing every nitty gritty. It's also not stuffing our emotions, right? Like a lot of times people think people who are like, even Steven, always just in a straight line, they think, oh, they've got emotional intelligence figured out. Oftentimes they have the least amount of emotional intelligence. They just stuff their emotions. They're also the person that loses their crap when somebody cuts them off in traffic, right? And they're flying off the handle over these other things because they're not acknowledging, controlling, and expressing their emotions. They're just stuffing them. So there's the two ends of the pendulum, the super emotional person crying all the time and dramatic There's the person who we think is even Steven, doesn't express their emotions, is always silent, and is just shoving them down until the volcano pops. Neither of those are emotional regulation, right? So having emotional intelligence is where you're regulated with your emotions. Like I said, you're aware of them, you can control them, and you can express them, and also do that within a relationship. And really what it is, Kayla, in my opinion, at the core end of it, it's self-discovery. It's finding out who you are as a person. And we've got this whole system that I train on, like we've got, it's the belief cycle, right? Or the meaning cycle. Tim and I are working on a name for it right now, but it's where we make meaning about an event happens, we make meaning about it. Now we have a belief that means something about what happened. I mean, two people can have the same experience and have radically different opinions about how they feel about it, right? So the meaning that each person makes about it is the catalyst for this whole cycle that really dives into the emotional intelligence. The only way out of it is to have emotional intelligence.
So how does someone, rather you're on both different ends of the spectrum, right? Actually know someone very close to me that is the even Steven, doesn't show emotions. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. I thought, okay, this is
Yeah,
good. I don't know this.
Right.
So, wow. Okay. And then, or the person that is crying all the time, and you said in your words, dramatic. Now, how do they realize that they're on either side of the spectrum, and how can they start working towards having that emotional intelligence?
Yeah, the step number one of that is to start being aware of your thoughts. It's
Okay.
self-awareness, right? And so
Okay.
I even have an exercise, and I'm happy to give it to your audience if they would, if you think it would be fitting, where we walk them through a bunch of thoughts that we might think on repeat, right? 70 to 80% of our thoughts are negative, depending on the study that you look at. 90 to 95% of those are on repeat every single day, right? And so it's
Wow.
hamster wheel over and over, unless we take the reins back and say, I'm not going to have this thought be my belief anymore because of some meaning that I made based off of an event that happened. I get to take charge, and the way to rewire our subconscious belief system where those thoughts and those beliefs reside is to start reframing those thoughts, right? And so the exercise walks people through how to reframe them in a way that your brain believes it. The brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality, right? Think of a nightmare. You wake up, the bear's chasing you, your palms are sweaty, you're breathing heavy, you're terrified, you think you were going to die by the bear. There's no bear in your room. Your brain doesn't know the difference when emotions are involved, right? So when we reframe our thoughts, when the way that we're able to do that and create a different life than what we've been doing 90 to 95% on repeat, right? Because the thoughts create our life. And really it's the meaning and the belief at the core of that is driving the thoughts. When we reframe those, now we're able to shift the trajectory of our life into a direction we want. It's not just positive affirmations. And that is a key component here. Affirmations kind of became popular for a time. And what they were missing, affirmations aren't enough. The brain knows if you're lying and telling you something that's not true.
That's true.
When you believe it as if something's already happened and you feel what it feels like with your emotions, now your brain can buy into it.
Oh, okay. Okay. So it's not enough to have the affirmations. You need to be aware of your thoughts, and have and create this like a new habit, right? So when
Yes.
you have that negative, you go back to uh a reminder of the truth.
Yes.
Okay. You would think it's simple
Yeah. And yet,
or easy.
it's right. And the challenge that it really is easy when we
Okay.
get to the brass tacks of it.
Uh-huh.
The problem is nobody's teaching this. You're not taught emotional intelligence in school. As we
Right.
know, between you and I, like the example that we're given is to our family, and
Yeah.
nothing wrong with them, but they weren't equipped with the right skill set to teach
Right.
something different.
Yeah.
They're just doing what they know.
Okay.
And so then we just repeat these patterns that are not helpful for our kids, our friends, our family, all the relationships that we have around us.
Okay.
So when we reframe those thoughts, we attach emotion to what we want instead of what is happening. Now we get to create a different life.
Okay. So if you know it's a lie, how do you connect emotion to it to believe it?
Yes. That's a great question. It's one of the questions people ask most often. So if you're struggling, let's say you want to close a deal. You get this call on a listing and you're like, I want that. I want to see that. You sit here over the next, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it because this will happen for you. I call it right now.
I feel it too.
I feel it. You feel that?
I do. Okay.
But see, what we just did,
Yeah.
what we just did is we felt what it felt like for you to get that listing.
Oh,
We both celebrated in that moment, and it's still literally giving me goosebumps because I know my girl is going to go crush it and she's going to have this killer deal, and I feel what it feels like. And when we do that, the brain says, oh, I feel that too. And we're going to go do that. And it releases hormones and all the things, and it creates new neural pathways in your brain that make that a reality.
Okay. Love that. And thank you.
Yes.
So I can easily step into those feelings because I am already a very positive person. I'm optimistic. I believe in my God and how powerful he is, and he is the provider. So it's easy for me to step into and know the truth and like, yeah, I'm going to get this listing for sure. I could feel it. But what about that person that is not there yet? And I say the word yet because I don't believe everyone is they just don't know the truth yet. They don't know their power, their authority yet.
Yes.
And it's going to take time. So how do you tell that to someone that is not in that? Because I could say, let's go ahead and do that. What did you call
the exercise?
it? The
Flip
exercise.
The switch. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say use me, but you can't use, I'm a horrible example because I believe in my big God that is in control of everything. So I don't think I would be able to be a good example on, unless you want to try it.
Oh,
but
well,
I'm very positive.
I think I'm so glad you brought that up because you're absolutely right. So I mean, for me, I believe in God, right? I don't care if people believe God, universe, source, whatever your journey is, right? But we're created to be our own unique self. And I call this the conditional gap. The conditional gap is the gap between who we're created to be and who we've been conditioned to be. Okay. And there's 4 parts of that where there's parental conditioning, school conditioning, even religious conditioning, and social conditioning, right? And when we take all those examples, parental conditioning, go be a realtor instead of a doctor, and maybe your passion was to be a doctor, but they said you'll make more money in the OC to do real estate. Whatever it is, right? Yeah. Your parents are influencing and conditioning you. Same thing with religion. They're telling you what you need to be. Society, Victoria's Secret models, men's magazine cover, the Facebook post of the neighbor having this great play date with their kid when you just watch them dragging it, screaming down the street out your window 5 minutes earlier, right? Like all of this conditioning that happens. Now it becomes this gap between who God created us to be and who we're told we need to be. Okay. And I really believe this midlife crisis, the people that struggle to see who they are, to have the positivity, they're stuck over here in the gap. And it's such a big chasm. They can't see who they were created to be. Nobody is the same. There are no 2 people on the planet that are the same ever. Every person is unique and designed only for what they're supposed to be. And when we close that gap through emotional intelligence and we teach them, when they start to believe, again, I don't care, God, universe, whatever you believe, I don't give a rip. That's your journey, not mine. When you get to see you for who you are, it starts to take the paint off of a painting so the artwork can shine through. And when they start to see that, and little by little, and to give a more practical example, if they're having trouble believing a certain thing that they want because they've never had it before, they can start to think of something where they felt the joy, they felt the accomplishment, they felt the love, and then they start to redirect it toward this event too, and start to place, like a blanket, that emotion over the event that they want to have.
Ooh, that's good. Okay, so that's where I was trying to get to.
Yep.
Okay, so if it's difficult for you to get in that mental space, just think of a time where you felt that joy and all of that. Okay, so that's one way. Is there another way to kind of because you said that there's a gap between who you're created to be and who you're conditioned to be. How do you then start bridging that gap?
That when you really sit back and you start evaluating your thoughts, right? This is why I go back to the thoughts that are so important. When you start thinking through your thoughts, why do I believe this? And get curious.
Ooh,
curiosity.
That's the question. Why do I believe this? Okay, go on. Sorry.
Yes, right. And you get curious of why, and don't be afraid of it. Is it because of what my parents said? I'll give this example. I used to be terrified of public speaking. Terrified. In fact, I don't even know if Tim knows this. I don't know that he would believe it if he knew this, right? I used to be terrified of it. And I was getting ready. This was 6 years ago. I was building my website, and my mom had a bin full of pictures. And I was going through all these pictures that were in the bin of, me growing up, all the things. And I came across this picture of me on stage with this band when I was like 8 or 9-ish, 10 years old maybe, and having the time of my life. And I sat there and I looked at that picture and I was like, where did that little girl go? She clearly was not afraid to get up in front of a whole crowd of people with the band on a stage under the lights. She wasn't afraid. And as I sat through that and I was evaluating that, I kept hearing my mom. I don't want to give I don't want to get up at church and speak. I don't want to do this. I hate public speaking. When I have to think about it, I get shaky and my knees are knocking and all the things. And it was in that moment, Kayla, I realized that fear of speaking that I had was not mine. It was my mother's. And in that moment, I said, this is my mission and my calling to teach this emotional intelligence. I'm not sure why, but whatever. I'm here and I'm just going to be obedient, follow the way, right?
Right.
In order to do that, I have got to set down this conditioned behavior of fear of speaking that wasn't mine.
Wow.
But when we get curious and we ask why am I really afraid of speaking? When I got down to the brass tacks, the picture triggered it and was able to be the catalyst for me. But if we sit and just ask the question and get curious, we find out a lot of things about ourselves and the people around us.
Wow. That's so good. Okay. And that's where you can because oh gosh, I think all of our limiting beliefs come from how we were raised.
Yes. Because our creator is an abundant creator. We
Uh-huh.
have no limits. We have
Yeah.
none whatsoever.
Yeah.
Everything that is placed on us is all that social, parental, school, and religious conditioning.
What was it? Religious, parental.
Yep. Social,
Social.
parental, school, and religious conditioning. I call it the conditional gap. It's the gap between who we
Man.
were conditioned to
Yeah.
be and who we were created to be.
When you put it that way, I feel a little overwhelmed just thinking about it. Like
Yeah.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot for someone that is just listening to this and just learning what emotional intelligence is. Um, what would you say to that person that feels overwhelmed? Like, where do I even start? I know you ask yourself, why do I believe this? But for someone that's just hearing this for the first time, like, what is something else they could be like, okay, where do I even start?
So I want to go two routes with this, if you don't mind. The
Of
first one
course.
is I want to address this feeling of overwhelm.
Yeah.
Typically and this may not be the case for you.
Uh-huh.
So this isn't placing this on you, right?
Yeah.
But generally speaking, when we're given something like what I just shared, and there's freedom and
Mhm.
joy and happiness and authentic abundance on the other side of that, we get overwhelmed because immediately your people's conditioning, maybe your conditioning, again, I don't know, says, holy shit, that's too much for me. I don't deserve all that. And we go, and we get afraid of it and we start to back off. It's Ed Milet calls it the thermostat effect, right? Where
Yes.
you know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yep.
Mhm.
So full abundance, full joy, full love, full happiness, full all the things is too much for
Uh-huh.
us to sometimes believe that we can actually have that. So that feeling of overwhelm is that barrier.
That's good.
I also call it a lens. We look through a lens of overwhelm then
Yeah.
that keeps us from experiencing that.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So just knowing and recognizing that you just felt that is high emotional intelligence. And I'm like, damn, girls got it. Yeah, seriously. And but people don't slow down often long enough to feel that. And
Wow.
then they also aren't able to express it. The fact that you were able to feel it, be aware of it, control it, and you sat here with control and said, and then expressed it, that right there is emotional intelligence. She's
Thank
got
you.
it.
Okay. That's amazing. But then whenever I have any sort of feeling like that, I now, which has taken a lot of time, have the ability to go back to the truth.
Yes.
I, in fact, do deserve the abundance. I do
Yes.
deserve the freedom and the happiness and all the things. Okay. You said one, and then you said there's a second.
Yep.
What's
And the second piece of that would be that flip the switch exercise. Okay, I feel overwhelmed about having this abundance. So now what do I want to believe? What do I want to experience in my life? What do I get to have in my life so that feeling that I have when abundance comes my way, I don't self-sabotage it. I don't destroy it. I don't not follow through on a deadline and cause it to not happen because the belief is there that you shouldn't. How do I get to? So, and if it's something that someone doesn't believe yet, I'm learning to believe I'm fully abundant. That your brain can believe. And when you feel what it feels like, I'm just learning. You can just put your toe in the water. I'm just learning how to do this.
Yeah.
Next week, after you keep doing this, I'm going to put my foot in the water. I am feeling abundant this week. I'm feeling abundant in this conversation. I'm feeling abundant and generous in tipping the coffee person, whatever it might be. Give yourself opportunities and do things that cause you to stimulate that feeling.
That's good. Oh my gosh. This is amazing. I've never heard of this before.
It's good. It's good stuff.
Okay. I know you mentioned about Ed My Let's thermostat example. I've heard about it, but a lot of my viewers and listeners have not. Can you go ahead and break that down?
Well, I can certainly not do it as good as Ed Milet can.
Yeah, of course.
But I will give it, right? Like where we get used to a certain setting in our home. If you put the thermostat at 68 degrees and then you go outside and it's 78 degrees, you're going to be like, holy crap, it's hot out here, right? If we put it at 74 degrees and it's constantly at 74, we can go out into 76, 78 degree weather. We're like, oh, okay, this is pretty normal, right?
Yeah.
We become, the temperature becomes normalized. When we want to take a leap in abundance, a leap in a career, a leap in your business scaling, a leap in the price of a listing that we do, whatever it might be, when we want to take that leap and we're reaching a goal, right? This is oftentimes where falsely imposter syndrome comes in. I can't stand that. Anyone with a goal has not achieved it yet. And then that means everybody on the planet's an imposter, which is just not true because we set out to do something that hasn't been achieved by us yet, right? But when we set that thermostat higher, it's uncomfortable for a long time until we acclimate, until our mindset gets comfortable with feeling, oh, I can do a $30 million listing now. Oh, I can do a $400 million listing now. Oh, I can do a $5 billion listing now, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
As you take those leaps, you have to sit in that uncomfortableness, right?
Yeah.
If you have a variance, like Ed describes it, there's a variance of 5 degrees each way that we're still pretty comfortable. But if you take a leap too far, that's when our nervous system and our brain says, overwhelm, and we start to retreat and self-sabotage and back up because we don't feel comfortable in that temperature. Does that make sense?
Wow, that does make sense. Man. Okay. That's so good.
So
Oh
this
my
is the
gosh.
importance of training your brain. I always say, like, listen, we do training and coaching for a long time because y'all have been doing this for decades at a time. It doesn't undo overnight.
Yes.
Train your brain. Feel abundance when you tip someone. Feel abundance when you walk through the door and you say, hi, thank you, and you open the door for someone and you're giving that love and you're giving that joy. That's when you start just incrementally conditioning yourself and your body to follow suit to those feelings.
Oh, that's so good. Oh my gosh. Okay. Your reaction to when you mentioned imposter syndrome was interesting.
Oh,
you were like kind of annoyed by that. Okay. So can we unpack that?
Yes,
like
please.
To express what you're feeling right now when it comes to imposter syndrome. It is very common.
It's so common.
Yes.
And it so makes me mad.
I want to know why it makes you mad.
Yeah, because it's just not real, right?
Yeah.
So I'll give this example. This was about 4 or 5 years ago. I was in speaking to this room full of entrepreneurs. They all owned their own business. And the one gal in there had a $60 million company. She had built it from the ground up. There was another gal in there that was trying to get to $1 million a year in revenue. She was just like, I just don't know. Like who am I to have $1 million company? You know, she was talking herself out of the belief that she could be what she wanted to be. And I turned to the lady with the $60 million business and I asked her, I was like, have you ever felt like an imposter, like each day? Because that's what she was, the $1 million gal was, she's like, I just feel like an imposter. Like, I don't deserve this. Who do I think I am? All those things, all the things that we all talk ourselves out of things with. And I said, do you ever feel that way? She says, every day. She had a ritual that when she crossed the threshold into her office, that she talked herself out of imposter syndrome every single day. Because as she said, she's like, every day I have a new goal. I'm seeking a new goal. When we push ourselves to something we haven't achieved, of course, we're going to feel like an imposter if you let yourself, right? Instead, I invite people to reframe. You're not an imposter. You're seeking a new goal you just haven't achieved yet. When we give the brain, imposter syndrome is like a problem versus a challenge. When we have a goal that we're attempting to achieve, that becomes a challenge. The brain is a goal-achieving machine. If we tell it, hey, we want this, we can achieve it. But if we go at it from this, I want to achieve this, but I don't deserve that, the brain sees that as a problem. Your creativity, your productivity, your problem solving goes out the window and your brain shuts down in that area and just says, that's a problem. We don't like that. We say goal and we say, I haven't done it yet. I'm learning how to do it.
There's that word yet.
Yep.
Yep.
We get there and our brain says, all right, we'll figure this out.
Yeah. Wow.
And the reason I get so emotional about it is because it really limits so many people unrightfully.
Yeah.
It's just not true. It's just not true.
That's so good. So for someone that's struggling with imposter syndrome, what could they do to slowly get out of that? Because as you mentioned, all of this is not going to undo overnight. You're renewing your mind.
Yeah.
Right. So you kind of have to unlearn everything you've ever known, which is, it's going to be some work, right? Are you willing to put in that work?
Yes.
And then relearning and renewing your mind. So that's going to take some time.
Yep.
I'm still renewing and relearning
until the day we die.
Until the day we die.
Yep.
Like that's just it. We're never going to be like, okay, I'm perfect now. Like it's not going to happen.
Right.
So what would you say to the person that is struggling with imposter syndrome for the first kind of steps to get over that?
Yeah. So I could go 8 different ways here. The first step I think would be is going back to the curiosity of why. Why do I think I don't deserve this, or I shouldn't achieve this, or I'm not worthy of this? Why? What is in your belief system that's causing you to doubt yourself? All imposter syndrome is self-doubt. When you get over that self-doubt, and again, you close the gap, that conditional gap between who you're conditioned to be, who you're created to be, you step into your full birthright of abundance and joy and happiness and everything available to you, that goes away. So reprogramming and starting to believe in your identity versus what the world has told you to be, right? When people do that, now they're empowered. You're now moving out of a victim state. The conditional gap, when you're in the conditioning, you're a victim. You're in a victim state. You take your power back over who you're designed to be and you step into that power. You don't doubt anymore. You step into you might mess up. You might try things and they might be a failure. But I always say the only true failure is failure to learn. If you're learning along the way and you get equipped with a skill set that will help you achieve it next week or 4 weeks from now or 6 weeks from now, you're ahead. You're ahead.
That's true.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's very true. That's so good. What have you noticed when because you're a coach, you're a leader, and you teach on emotional intelligence? What would you say is like the number one common struggle that people have a challenge with when it comes to learning about or getting better with emotional intelligence?
Worthiness.
It always comes down to that.
And it kills me.
That's what I've noticed too.
I'm so thankful that Jamie Kern-Lima put that book out of worthiness because everything gives me goosebumps again. Everything between this conditional gap and who you're created to be, the only reason you don't reach that is you don't think you're worthy.
Wow. I've heard about that book.
It's a great book. It's a great book. She did a great job.
All my mentees to read that book.
Yeah.
Well, I'll read it first and then I can give it to them. But she's the blonde, right?
Yeah, she did it makeup. Was it it? I can't remember. She did a whole makeup line, and she was. Don't quote me on this, but I think she sold out for one of the highest makeup sales, especially as a woman-owned business in history. Don't quote me on that. I don't know that that's accurate, but she did a damn good job.
Okay.
Yeah,
I might
she killed
text you later about that because
Yeah.
I think I know who you're talking about, and she keeps coming up for me. So I'm like, who's this girl?
Oh,
So,
yep. Time to pay attention.
wow, I know, huh?
Yeah.
Come out
I
of
get
that
it.
rock you're living under. My gosh.
3 times I was told to be a coach, and I'm like, okay, I got it.
Okay, so worthiness.
Yeah.
Man. And it comes down to, again, why do you think this way? Why do you believe this? You're
Yep.
limiting the beliefs and all of that. And wow, our
What were you
society.
told? Who told you that you couldn't? I mean, we
Yes.
think of something so silly as like money grows on trees. My parents would say that all the time. Money
Yeah.
just doesn't grow. And actually it really does. It's printed on paper, right? But you get
Yeah,
this
that's true.
belief that it's got to be hard to earn it. It's got to be
Yeah.
difficult. It's got to be a struggle. You got to grind every day. And so that one statement, depending on the meaning that each person makes about it, can radically influence their ability to make money or not, right?
Yeah.
So that's just one example. What
Yeah.
about you can't be beautiful, you can't look good, or we could go on for hours, all the things that we're told.
Right.
Don't dance, you can't have fun, you can't be full of joy, you
Yeah.
can't have happiness,
Yeah. Yeah. That's really, really good. And being honest with yourself too. And
So huge.
wanting to make that change.
Yeah, go.
Because I think people, it's almost like they like to be in that limiting, I'm gonna just call it a circle, because change requires being uncomfortable.
Yes. Yes. So the brain and the heart are fantastic at avoiding pain.
Mm.
Our brain is fantastic at seeing change as painful. So people will stay in the known. They will choose the known all day, every day, right? I honestly think, and the more that I've worked with entrepreneurs versus corporate people, this is what sets entrepreneurs apart. They lean into the change. They lean into the uncomfortable. They're okay with that, right?
Yeah.
People who do, and God bless them because we need them. The Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and the corporate ladder.
Yes.
They're fantastic at it, but they don't have to face a whole lot of change. It's a really known path, right?
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs, man, like we're in the trenches of every freaking minute. We're pivoting and turning and shifting, and
that's so true
Mhm.
because like I have a lot going on. I have the show, I have my coaching, I have my real estate,
You
I have the
do,
show, I have
yeah.
all these things. And you would think that I'm like, I got enough on my plate. But now, because there's something inside of me that just likes to always challenge myself. Now I'm like, oh, okay, luxury real estate's cool, but I kind of want to like look into investing and flipping homes now. So
Why
I'm like
not?
going on a whole different direction. And it's hard, it's challenging. You're looking at homes that is like, oh my gosh. You're dealing with people that are like, oh my gosh. And I remember thinking just yesterday, I'm like, what am I doing? Like I could just focus on the uber luxury, beautiful, big homes, 10, 20 million. Or I'm deciding to deal with like, under $1 million properties and dealing with mold and all the things. And I want to learn about investing in these homes and dealing with these people and flipping and all the things, which is not easy. I'm definitely learning very quickly, but it's like,
It's not.
we just have that mindset. Like we just have to constantly challenge ourselves and just go in different directions because I think we're just a little like crazy.
Hey, a little bit. And I like my crazy. Like I'll do this crazy than a hamster will all day, any day, right?
Man, I know.
They've done studies. In fact, I just saw it and I cannot remember. I'm sitting here wishing I could remember the name of the portion of our brain that actually grows when we do something we don't want to do. When we have the level of discipline. And I don't know about all y'all, but as an entrepreneur, we're doing things we don't want to do all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that grows that portion of our brain that causes us to live longer and have more happiness, right? And so when we overcome something, we're presented with a challenge and we overcome it, there is a whole cascade of hormones that are released from our brain into our body. The feel-good chemicals, the serotonin, all that gets released and we feel accomplished. And quite frankly, the more people with imposter syndrome, the more they can hold promises to themselves and follow through on promises to themselves, the more they're going to I always call it putting pages in a book. One page alone isn't that much, but one day you wake up and you've got a book, right? And there's several of those pages where you kept your promises to yourself. You kept your promises. You did the hard thing. You overcame it. You didn't give up. That portion of your brain is growing. The feel-good hormones are getting released. You're getting happier. You're feeling more confident, feeling more accomplished. Really, you're getting more to the identity of cutting out all the limiting beliefs and back to who you were created to be.
Yes.
And that's where the confidence comes from.
Yeah.
Stepping into your true identity.
Whew, that's good. Wow. That's amazing. You're amazing.
You're amazing. Tim said, he was like, you two are just going to love each other.
Oh my God,
He's right.
I know. I'm like, do you really have to go back home? Can you just stay here?
I'm here often, so it's good.
Yeah, and we can always call each other. But
yes,
I really appreciate this. So, and thank you for teaching this and mentoring others on this because this is so needed.
It's so needed.
Yes,
it's so needed, Kayla.
It is.
I am really passionate. Like at the end of the day, this is the ticket. This is what even within religion and in biblical teaching, there's still this gap of, okay, but how do I get to my identity? How do I get to my worthiness? Yeah. The how in that conditional gap is emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And when you unpack your bag and you learn how and you have the skill set to do it, in a way that feels safe and not overwhelming. And you can buy into it, and you have a coach in your ear that's encouraging you and sees that identity in you. It's just a game changer.
Yes.
And that's when people just unlock. You know, you know this in the entertainment industry, people have the it factor. They have this figured out and they just don't know it. That's the it factor. Their energy shifts, the way they present themselves. It's a different ballgame.
Yeah.
That's the
so
true confidence.
True. That's so true. That's good. Okay, I do want to shift gears here.
Yeah, let's do it. Oops, strap in.
You already know where I'm gonna go.
Yeah. It's gonna get real now.
Okay, so you were married and you went through a divorce from a narcissist. Man.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
let's go down that route. And I want to get into the narcissist character traits. Unfortunately, and that word I feel like is thrown around
so
a
overused.
lot, right?
So
okay,
overused.
I'm not crazy.
Nope.
I feel like it's so overused, and people they just use it.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you even know what that means? So first of all, let's start there. Let's actually have you define what is a narcissist.
Yeah. So I'm going to give it an analogy as a definition, because this is what the counselor had said to me at one point, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like,
is that the moment where you realized, I'm like in a hole?
Yeah. Well, kind of, but not really. I actually didn't realize truly what a narcissist was until I divorced him, and I thought I was. Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. So I was in it. And when you're in it, they have so much mind control over you. Like gaslighting is one of their. Lying and gaslighting are the two modus operandus, right? Like that is how they operate. They gaslight the crap out of you. They lie about the dumbest things. Within the lying, they're doing the gaslighting. And so it gets to the point where we start to question our sanity. Like we're sitting there going, I swear I put my coffee cup down here. There's a movie literally called Gaslighting. And one of our counselors had said to me, he's like, let me back up. Somebody had said to me, like, I think maybe you could be bipolar. To me, they're saying this to me. And I lost my shit. I went to my counselor and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, this is what they said. And he laughed at me. He's like, well, first of all, the fact that you're even asking means that that's not even an option. That's not even on the table. And he laughed because he had been our counselor for a while at this point. And he said, sweetie, he goes, you're not bipolar. You're getting gaslit. And I was like, what is that? Like, I don't even know what that is. So he sent me home. He sent me to go watch the movie. The movie it's an older movie, like, I don't know, really old. So I anyway, didn't love the movie. But the scene that stuck out to me was this woman walked into the husband's office or something. She set her coffee mug down. She walked out to go do something. She came back. While she was gone, he takes the coffee mug and hides it. She comes back. And if I'm remembering this correctly, she's like, I swear I put the coffee mug down. And he's like, did you take your medication today? Right? Oh. Projecting the craziness back onto her, making her think that she's the crazy one. So when I watched this movie and then I started evaluating my life with my ex-husband, I was like, no wonder I feel like I'm going freaking batshit crazy. Like this is why. There's all this disillusionment and smoke and mirrors and bait and switch and lies and all the things that at some point you start to question what reality is, right? And you don't know how to you don't know how to navigate that.
Yeah.
It's really difficult.
Oh my gosh. I know that all too well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. And I don't want to say too much.
Yeah. Fair.
But, and I didn't really understand what that was until, not that long ago. Oh my gosh. Okay. So go ahead.
And people that are in this space, like when they're so good at this, here's the crappy part. They are damn good at manipulating other people around you to believe their story. They're really good at it. And unless you can get hard, concrete evidence, you start to look like the crazy one when you start defending yourself. Yep. And that's what I learned. I literally was like, you know what? Y'all can find out by yourself. I got divorced. I moved away. I was told by my church, like, you can't do this. Like, you don't have biblical grounds. And I was like, the crap I don't, right? Like, nobody showed up to help me move. It was a bad deal, right? This whole experience, because he was so good at convincing them of this other story. Now, you fast forward, he's since died of cancer about a year plus ago, my ex-husband has. And at the funeral, all the people are sitting there questioning, why have your kids not wanted to see this guy? There's a reason 4 children did not want to see their dad, But they have this whole other story that this guy painted of the town we used to live in, and they're freaking good at it. They're really good at it. His own family is completely unaware of the things that we went through. And that happened to my kids, under our roof, out of my roof after we got divorced, all the things.
Okay. Woo. All right. How do you, I'm just going to talk for the ones, or ask for the ones that are in a relationship or marriage.
Yeah.
That is with a narcissist. How in the world? Gosh, see, this is so hard because I am not an advocate for divorce.
I'm not either.
I'm not, Kayla.
I'm not either.
But
and I am also, okay, can I take a segue off that really quick?
Sure.
When I was in the closet crying, I don't know if people who know Baptist, whatever, John Piper, he's a pastor out of Michigan or somewhere. He always had this statement, God is most glorified in us when we are most satisfied in him. And I remember crying in the closet thinking, I am not satisfied with what you're doing to me in my life. I would never, ever, ever choose this for my children. I love my kids, and there isn't a damn thing I wouldn't do for them. I would never wish this upon somebody else.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the people who feel stuck in a toxic relationship and feel like they're going to get shamed and guilted to stay in that relationship for biblical reasons is just simply not true. God is a God of love, and he would want us to have full abundance in being in a would you want that for your daughter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, would you want that?
No.
Not a chance.
Nope.
There's no way we would ask that and say, sit, stay, this is just your lot, right?
No.
We would never say that to them. We would go pack their bags. We would get them out. We would pay for everything. We would freaking on our hands and knees get them up and out of that.
Yeah.
That's the God that I believe.
Yeah.
I'm not a proponent of divorce. And I am even a bigger non-proponent of staying in a toxic relationship.
Yeah. Okay. How do you get out?
Find your worthiness. Find your worthiness. That the narcissists are classic at, usually they prey on strong women, women who are type A that can get things done. It's a game for them to tear someone down that is so powerful. So literally, I say this when I looked back, I was married for 14 years. For 7 years, he tore me down. It took me 7 years to get strong enough to leave. And I started doing my work, right? 7 years. And this is why I'm so passionate about doing what I do.
Yeah.
We can collapse time through the emotional intelligence for people to understand their worthiness and to close that gap and become who they were created to be, knowing they do not deserve to be in a relationship like that. They deserve every good thing. And I, firsthand, on the other side of it, you get to have it. I have the best man in my life. I have the best kids. We have an abundant life. I have the best mentors and people that I get to do life with. And there is life on the other side. Find your worthiness. Discover who you're created to be, who God created you to be, and step into that space and don't let anybody talk you out of it.
That's right. Oh. That's so good. Okay. How can you avoid a narcissist? Okay, we already talked about being in it, but you could avoid it.
Yep.
You could just not get into it.
Yep.
That will be easier than trying to get out of it. So what are the easy signs to look for to see it and be like, not for me?
You simply don't accept any treatment from other people to yourself that you wouldn't give to someone else. Okay. Oftentimes, people who end up in narcissistic relationships are givers. We're givers. Yeah. When we love someone, we love well, really, really well. And we will give and we will give and we will give. And I used to believe until my man now, I used to believe that I could never find a man that would match that energetically would match it, that would stride for stride match me, that would support me, that would want everything for me, and that would see me as the most perfect human on the planet in all my imperfections, right?
Wow.
When you get treated in a way that you sit back and you think, ooh, that hurt. Not one time have I had to deal with this man. Not one time.
Oh,
not one time.
You mean to tell me that's possible?
It's possible, sister. That's what I was saying. Right?
Wow. You hear that, you guys? It is possible to find someone that's healthy, that doesn't make you feel anything other than amazing.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Does he happen to be a man of God?
Yes.
Well, would you look at that? My goodness, you guys, godly men is where it's at.
Yes, yes. Having a spiritual compass is really important.
Yeah.
It's really important. But when you start to see behaviors, they start to treat you that certain way, bounce immediately. I have a one-time rule. I'll tell you once. If I have to tell you twice, I'm out. And you've ruined the relationship with me.
Ooh.
Not my problem. Your choice.
But that is also rooted in knowing your worth.
Yes. You won't stand up for yourself if you don't know your worth.
Yes.
Yes.
So ladies and men, if you find yourself keep attracting those type of toxic people, it is time to look in the mirror.
Yes.
It is time to look at yourself and ask, what is it about me that I need to work on to do the healing, to do the work? So then I can go and attract the right, healthy man or woman. Okay. It starts with you.
Yes.
Okay. I got a professional right here in front of me telling you the same thing.
You know, people always say that statement, you can only give what you have for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say you can only give or get what you have for yourself. I can't receive true love if I don't fully love myself. I can't receive full forgiveness if I haven't really forgiven myself.
Wow.
Nor can I give full forgiveness to other people, right?
Yep.
We can only give or get what we have for ourselves. It starts with us.
That's so good. And don't you want the best for
Yes.
yourself?
So it's so funny you bring that up because people always say like, oh, but self-develop, like focusing on myself is so selfish. No, it's very selfish for you not to.
Yep.
If I didn't do my work, Kayla, and I came here to you at 20%, 30% of my operating speed, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're only getting 20 or 30% of me.
Mm.
When I do my work and I can show up 100% authentically myself, who God created me to be, you get the gift. Your audience gets the gift. The people in the room get the gift. I get to give this to people when we operate out of our best.
Wow.
If we don't do it, we're being selfish and stingy with the essence that God created us to give.
There it is. I see the team in the back nodding their head. Amen to that. That's so good. Okay. That was really good.
So
there
good.
There's so many mic drops there. I love that. Okay. Oh gosh, I want to keep going, but we do have to wrap it up. What is your last message that you feel strongly in your spirit, on your heart right now, that you feel like the listeners and the viewers need to hear?
I mean, I think we said it already,
Mm.
but I get really passionate about people stepping into their worthiness.
Yeah.
And knowing who they were created to be, not who you were told you should be, shouldn't be, can't be, it is impossible for you to be. Discover, and it's a self-discovery. There's no two tongue prints that are the same. No two fingerprints are the same. Your unique fingerprint of who you're created to be is going to be different than someone else. So stop comparing. Stop asking all the questions. What are you doing? What, right? Like start looking within yourself first, getting quiet with yourself and just hearing that noise, the thoughts, the chatter, and unpack that stuff. Unpack that bag. Let it go. You don't have to carry it around anymore.
That's crazy that you just mentioned that, because I was just driving the other day and it wasn't the time of the month, but I was very emotional for no reason. It came out of nowhere. And I was driving down this beautiful road with the beautiful trees. And I was just like thinking to myself, just in my thoughts, and I'm just like, gosh, how wonderful is our God to love us so much, to create these beautiful trees and leaves and sparrows and birds and all sorts, like, and I was like, and then it brought it, and then those thoughts came to us.
Yes.
How much does God love us so much that he's created every single one of us as individuals? There is no one with your same fingerprint. There is no one. I don't care if you're identical twins. You guys are not 100% identical. You are different in different ways. How beautiful then is it that we are one of one?
Yes.
That God loved you so much that there's no one else in the world that is like you. Right. How special are you?
Yep. It's mind blowing when you think about it. I mean, there's 8 billion people on the planet today. Like the level of abundance of that mind to create all those things.
Yeah.
And we're of him. We're of that.
Yes.
We're one. Like, I love that. The one of the one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's time to see your worthiness.
Yes.
It is time to know who you are and what you were created for. It's so different for all of us.
Yes. Yes.
Find that.
Yep.
And I promise you, you will find that freedom that you're looking for, that peace, that joy, that happiness that we all deserve.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry.
There's freedom. Don't be. I love it. I love it.
I feel the passion right now.
Yeah.
With you sitting here. Like, that's so true. I'm so happy that you said that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Right. Because that's the key, is what people don't realize. Is this work tough to do? Yeah. But on the other side of it is ultimate freedom. And how far are you willing to go to get that? If your worthiness is in the way and you're not willing to go there, you got a worthiness issue you still need to unpack. Problem is, people don't know how to do it. And that's our mission with what we're doing, is to help people, give them the skill set to know how to unpack and get to that freedom.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. Brenda, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on the web. We're on all the social media, right? But it's all linked there. So it's thebrendalee.com.
Okay.
Yep. And yeah.
So good. I love how you say the web. I say that too. You can find that on the World Wide Web.
Yep. The www.
Well, across the internet.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Okay. A couple more questions and we do need to wrap it up. What is next for you?
Well, next is a book. All right, Tim. People have been asking.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
People have been asking for years.
And can I ask what it's on?
Emotional intelligence.
Of course.
Yep.
And you all know that once it's released, you got to get it, and you're going to have to come back, and we're going to have to talk about more about it.
Let's do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. So you got the book. What else?
Yep.
You got your coaching. You speak on stages.
Yep.
When's your next event?
Well, we have several. Tim's team has been putting several together. One of the big ones coming up is David Meltzer's. So I'm super excited about that.
Oh, amazing.
Yep. Exactly.
Where's that going to be at?
We're actually doing that one virtually, which we know how we feel about that. It is what it is. But and then we're also rolling out a whole program. I've done corporate for all these years, right? And what we found is that entrepreneurs want the same leadership development training for the emotional intelligence. So we're rolling out a program for entrepreneurs specifically, so they can have access to this training, not at the corporate pricing that they can afford. So we're really excited about that.
That's so incredible.
Yeah. Most businesses failed, not because of a big plan, not because of execution, not because of their team. It's because of the lack of leadership of the entrepreneur, and they just don't even know it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's so good. Okay. In your definition, what does pain to power mean to you?
Closing that conditional gap. Going from who you were conditioned to be, stepping into who you were created to be. And when you do that, that's stepping into your ultimate power.
So good.
To power, like unlimited power.
Yes.
It's incredible.
Yes.
The freedom.
Inheritance.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. It's not for after. It's for now. It's for present.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen to that. Well, thank you again so much, Brenda, for coming on the show. You're so incredible. You guys, if you love this episode just as much as I did, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, all the things, and I will see you at the next one.